What's up, you guys, and welcome back to Cozy Vlogs. My name is Kristen. If you're new, if you're not new, then thank you so much for joining back in today. We have a marathon bake day ahead of us. I want to restock my pantry, or my freezer, I should say, with home baked goods. We're gonna do hamburger buns, we're gonna do sandwich toast, and we're gonna do those viral high protein bagels from TikTok. I will link all the recipes in the description box down below. So if you want to try them yourself, you can find them there. But before we begin, I want to take care of dinner so I don't have to think about that at the end of the day. And I saw Acre Homestead make this amazing creamy basil chicken the other day, and I want to try that as well. It's cooked in the slow cooker in the crock pot, and it looked amazing. So I have all the ingredients here, and let's start with that. So we're gonna start by putting 3 chicken breasts into the slow cooker. And this can cook all day while I am baking here. Can cook away, and I will serve this with rice probably and some cucumber salad in the evening. In her recipe, Acre Homestead, Becky, I should say, she uses marinara sauce. I don't have that, so I'm just using past tomatoes, and this is 500 grams of past tomatoes, but they are already aromatized. There is like basil in there basically, which I think will go really nicely with the recipe and the chicken. This year I'm trying to can marinara sauce myself. I did freeze a lot of the past tomatoes from last year from the garden, but this year we will try to can marinara sauce as well. Then the recipe says 2 cups of heavy cream. I have 15%, so it's reduced fat cooking cream. We don't have enough fresh basil for this recipe. We have some fresh basil on the windowsill, but not enough, so I'm gonna use some dried basil. She did use as well some dried basil in her recipe in the video that she did recently. And then we have a ton of spices here. I'm gonna use some black pepper. I always like to use white pepper usually, but today we're gonna mix it. This is white pepper. I like a lot of pepper. The recipe doesn't say that, but I will use some ground coriander as well. I think it goes nicely with the other spices and the sauce. Then onion powder, garlic powder, and we are gonna use some basil salt that I did last year with basil from the garden. And then, because things can get a little bit watery sometimes in the slow cooker, we're also gonna use some starch. I think she used corn starch. I don't know which starch this is. I think it doesn't really matter as long as you're using starch. The recipe says that you can cook it for 3 to 4 hours on high or 5 to 6 hours on low. Because I have so much time, it's only 11 a.m. I want to cook it on low, because then it has just time to cook all day. But before I put the lid on, I'm just stirring it a little bit so everything gets like emulsified and mixed. Okay, so we're gonna start with the hamburger buns because they have to rest the longest, as I understand. The recipe is in cups, so not in grams. So I got out my cup measurements, and we're gonna start by warming the milk in the microwave so it's lukewarm, and then we can put the yeast in there. So we're gonna use half a cup of water and then 1 cup of milk. 1 cup of milk. And the recipe says to use active dry yeast, but I'm gonna use fresh yeast. I just like fresh yeast better. But you do what you want. The recipe also calls for honey, but I just recognized that I ran out of honey. I have like maybe 1 teaspoon left, so I'm gonna substitute it for sugar this time. But I have done this recipe before, and the honey does give like a really nice warm sweet note. So it says 2 tablespoons of honey, so I'm gonna use about 2 tablespoons of sugar. I took 3 here because the spoon is so tiny. Now we're gonna pop it in the microwave for I think about 20 seconds or something, then it should be lukewarm. I haven't even had my second cup of coffee yet, so I'm gonna enjoy a couple of sips. Okay, I actually had it in the microwave for like a minute. It is lukewarm now. Now we're gonna put, it says 1 tablespoon active dry yeast, so I think I'm gonna put like half of this block. It's fine. And then we're gonna let the yeast bloom a little bit. And I'm just crumbling it and let it bloom in there for about, I don't know, 10 minutes or so. While that is blooming, I'm gonna melt my butter in the microwave as well. It calls for 2 tablespoons, so I'm gonna use 4 teaspoons because I don't want to get another spoon dirty right now. Okay, so in a separate bowl, I added 3.5 cups of bread flour. In Europe, this is the type 550. This has like better development of gluten. It's like better for like buns and like bread and stuff like this, and it's not as soft as the type 405. And I also added a teaspoon of Himalayan salt. Our yeast has pretty much bloomed. I also added the melted butter now. Now we're gonna add the flour to the butter and then mix it for about 4 to 5 minutes. I don't have a stand mixer, so I'm gonna mix it with my hand mixer, and I use the kneading hooks. And the recipe says 3.5 cups to 4 cups of bread flour. So I went with 3.5 cups first, and then if it's too wet, I will add another half a cup. Okay, I think I'm gonna knead it a little bit by hand. I'm gonna take it out of this bowl to knead it because I don't want to break my hand mixer. I definitely want to get a stand mixer, probably this year. Maybe I'll get it myself for Christmas. My birthday is upcoming, but I do want to finish the kitchen renovations before I get it myself. Also, I think the hydration of this dough is pretty good. We don't need to add any more flour, in my opinion. And do you see these like strands here? This is the gluten developing. We do want a really stretchy dough with long strands of gluten, then it's gonna be really fluffy afterwards. Just gonna grease my bowl a little bit. Then we'll put my dough inside. Looks quite nice so far. And we're gonna put a little bit of water on top. The recipe doesn't say that, but I like to do that with my doughs just so they stay nice and wet. We're gonna put a towel on top that's a little bit damp. And then we'll put it in the warmest spot in the house and let it rest. Okay, we're starting with the sandwich bread. I have 1 cup of warm water here. Then we need some sugar. It says 1/3 cup. I will do half because I'm halving the recipe. I have not tried this recipe before, so I don't know if I like it or not. And I just don't want to do like the full size portion. Now we use the rest of our yeast here. I think I might use a little bit more than half a block. So probably 3/4 of 1 block in total. And we're gonna let this sit here and bloom a little bit. I'm just gonna stir the yeast together with the water and the sugar so it can combine a little bit and then bloom really nice. Nice. So I would say that our yeast has bloomed pretty nicely. You can See those nice bubbles here? And now we're gonna add bread flour and the olive oil and some salt. So the original recipe says 5.5 cups of bread flour, but I'm gonna start with 3 and then see how the dough is. Or maybe a little bit less than 3. Let's say 2 3/4 or something. And now we're also gonna add salt, about half a teaspoon. Now we're also adding oil. The recipe calls for a neutral tasting oil, but I'm gonna use olive oil. I'm gonna use half of 1/4 of a cup. And now we're gonna mix everything together. My hand mixer is really powerful, so that's why I'm sometimes like stirring it before I started. I think the hydration of the dough is pretty good. I wouldn't add any more flour, but I do want to mix it a little bit more so the dough gets really smooth. It says in the recipe that it should be a smooth ball of dough. So I've been mixing this for about 5 minutes with my hand mixer with the kneading hooks. You can see that it's still a bit sticky, but it doesn't stick to the surface, and that is what we want to see. And the dough itself is pretty smooth, as you can see. So I will call it good for now. So I'm just gonna shape it into a nice ball, and then we'll let it rest as well. That's a beautiful ball of dough. I will also grease this bowl a little bit because I don't want it to stick. Yeah. I also added a little bit of water on top just so it's nice and moist, and now we'll let it rest for about 30 minutes or until it has doubled in size. I am running out of big mixing bowls. We don't have a ton of space in our kitchen, so I don't have that many mixing bowls yet since we're still renovating. But this is one of my last big mixing bowls. And the next recipe that we're doing are those viral high protein bagels. They're supposed to be done with cottage cheese, but I'm just gonna use Greek yogurt. I have seen people do it also with Greek yogurt, so that's fine. And I also don't have self-raising flour. I don't even know if you can get that here in Estonia, but I am just using the bread flour and then mixing it with baking powder and some salt. The kitchen is already a mess, as you can tell. So we'll need 125 grams of self-raising flour. Yeah, that's perfect. Now we're on, I have this sel de Camargue. I'm gonna add about 1 teaspoon. And then we'll add 1 teaspoon of baking powder as well, like this. And then we need 200 grams of full fat cottage cheese, but like I said, I'm gonna use Greek yogurt. So we're gonna use the same amount, just we're gonna substitute it with Greek yogurt. From what I understand, you just put everything together. So 210 grams. I haven't even had breakfast yet, so I'm really hungry and I can't wait until our first bread products are done so I can finally have some breakfast. Okay, I think that's actually all we need, at least for the dough. And then for the topping, you can use sesame seeds, everything bagel seasoning, shredded cheese, poppy seeds, whatever you want. And you could technically also do some mix-ins here, like cranberries. You could even do like those cinnamon blueberry bagels or something. I'm just gonna do them plain for the first time because I just want to see how they turn out, and I will add some sesame on top. After we're done with this baking, my hand mixer needs some serious TLC. There's some dough left on this hand mixer, but it doesn't matter because I'm making just salty doughs here. It's not like I'm baking a cake. I have a pretty sticky dough because I used Greek yogurt, not cottage cheese or blended cottage cheese. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more flour. I'll start with probably 20 grams or something. That is my fault. But I swear I have seen people use Greek yogurt on TikTok for these like viral high protein bagels. Okay, I can tell I need a little bit more. I will use 10 grams more. We're almost there. Yeah, or maybe 20 as well. So let's see if we're now there. Okay, I think we still need some more flour. I probably will go up to 200 grams, I guess. And I will also add a little bit more salt, just because in the recipe they use self-rising flour. And also a little bit more baking powder, like half a teaspoon or something. The kitchen is a mess. It definitely needs some TLC after we're done here with the baking. I did 2 times 20 grams, right? So I was at 165. So we need 35 more grams. Right now we'll see. Hopefully this will be enough. Yeah, I can tell this is what we needed. Okay, so next time I will probably try with the cottage cheese. I just didn't have at home, so that's why I used the Greek yogurt. Just gonna knead it by hand because I don't want to make a huge mess. We already made one. Definitely need to vacuum this floor. I just washed my hands. Touching sticky things gives me sensory issues, so that's our first timer. That's the timer for the sandwich toast. I'm just gonna finish this dough right here and then we'll deal with the sandwich toast. Okay, I'm just gonna now knead our dough a little bit by hand until it's smooth, and then we can firm, and then we can actually form already the bagels from this. Okay, I think that's good. It's still hydrated but not sticky anymore. So I have preheated the oven, and now we're gonna form the bagels, then put some egg wash on top, and then we'll put the sesame seeds. Still a little bit sticky. We'll see. And I have seen that these bagels puff up quite a bit when they're baked, so I'll try to make the hole a little bit bigger, but if it like bakes shut, I'm fine with that as well. This is my first time, by the way, forming bagels, so forgive me if they're not perfect, but I think they don't look too bad so far. Now, our artisan bagels need some egg wash. And since these are high protein, this is great for like breakfast or for like an afternoon snack or something with just some cream cheese. And now we use these sesame seeds and just sprinkle them. Whoop, quite a lot. Okay. Yep, that's perfect. Now they'll go in the oven for 25 to 30 minutes. Our dough definitely has doubled in size and it already started rising. So this is the dough for the hamburger buns. It's looking beautiful. Greasing the bowl definitely helped with the dough coming out. Now I'm gonna cut it into equal parts like a pizza, and then we're gonna roll them into little dough balls. And I just wet my knife so it's easier to cut through the dough so that it won't stick. First cut it in half, then quarter it, and then each quarter will be halved again. It smells fantastic in here. Also the creamy basil chicken has started emitting its aroma and it smells so good in here. Okay, we have 2, 4, 6, 8 hamburger buns, which is perfect. Now I'm just gonna shape them into a dough ball. I'm just like gently circling it in the palm of my hand. And because I don't like the hamburger buns to be so puffy, I will just flatten them. So it's like a flat circle. Then we'll put it on here, and before we put the egg wash on and everything, we'll let them rest for a little bit. So I'm gonna have to bake 4 buns at a time because I have limited space on my baking tray. My oven is like quite small. We don't have like a full-size oven yet, but because you have to flatten them out quite a bit, like you can see here. And while they're resting, I decided to put on the egg wash just so they don't dry out. And then I'm still waiting for the bagels to finish, and when those finish, the hamburger buns can go into the oven. And while those are in the oven, I can already prepare the other ones so they can go right away as well. And I just like a sesame on my hamburger buns, so I'm just gonna put some. They actually look so good. I'm really impressed how they turned out. They puffed up really nice. And I love that golden brown color as well. So good. I might try one when they're cooled down. And now our first hamburger buns will go into the oven. While our hamburger buns are in the oven, we're gonna taste test a bagel. I think next time I'll add a little bit more baking powder because they have sunken in quite a little bit. And they are still warm, so they're not completely cooled down yet. But I am so hungry that I am willing to eat a warm bagel. Yeah, because I used more flour, probably I should have used about 2 teaspoons of baking powder instead of 1.5. Okay, let's see how this tastes. I'm so hungry. It actually tastes so good. The only thing that I would change next time is probably do the recipe with the cottage cheese like it said. Or if I would do it with Greek yogurt, I would just add a little bit more baking powder. But they taste amazing. They're fluffy, they're moist, they're really good. The second round of hamburger buns are now in the oven. The first ones looked amazing. I will show you in a second. And now we are dealing with our sandwich loaf. The dough almost escaped this bowl. It's looking beautiful. I only have this small loaf pan. I don't have a bigger loaf pan, so we'll probably half it and then bake 2 loaves of sandwich. I'm gonna halve this dough and work it like one dough ball at a time, because this whole dough will definitely not fit in my loaf pan. I'll probably put the rest back into the bowl and cover it so it won't dry out. And then I will knead this dough a little bit, and it has to rest 30 more minutes when it's in the loaf pan. It's a pretty nice dough already though. I'm gonna put it in a rectangle, and then we'll roll it up. And we'll do this a couple of times to include some air. Then we'll just pinch the edges together. And this actually fits in here, so that's great. This looks good. Now we'll put it in here. I will just wet the dough a little bit so it's nice and moist, and then we'll cover it and let it rest 30 more minutes. While that is resting, we can actually prepare the other dough as well. That is such a nice dough. I really like this recipe. You could use a rolling pin as well, but I decided to use my hands just because I don't want to clean my rolling pin. I'm gonna put it in this bowl here, just in a U shape. And I'll also moisten it a little bit. And then we'll let this rest also 30 minutes. Okay, so log number 1 is ready to go into the oven. And by the way, this is how our chicken is looking. It still has about, I think, 2.5 hours to go until it's done, and then I'll just keep it on warm. Looks pretty good, and it smells amazing. And here are the hamburger buns. One got a little flat. I think that was my fault because I just shaped it wrong. But the other ones are amazing. Look at this. It's literally a perfect bun. I'm so proud. And they seem very fluffy as well. I'll just let them cool here under this towel. They are still warm. And then later on, I will cut them open and freeze them. This sandwich loaf looks absolutely stunning in my opinion. I did put a little bit of water on here because I do want the skin to get soft. And I'm just wrapping it also in towel basically until it's cooled, so the moisture stays in. I have done the same with the other loaf that looks amazing as well. And they're so soft, you can tell, like they're really soft and fluffy. It's perfect. They were in the oven for 35 minutes, and I did cover them after about 20 minutes so they wouldn't get too dark and the skin wouldn't get like too crispy. But it sounds amazing. I'm really impressed with this recipe. This was my first time trying, and I think so far it has been a success. One of these probably I will freeze, and the other one we will eat fresh. Next time that I'm doing these sandwich loaves, I will definitely double the recipe just so I can get like 4 loaves out of it, and then I can just store them in my freezer until I'm ready to use them. I do it like that with my regular sandwich bread also sometimes. So yeah, and I'm so like curious how they will taste. I'm sure they'll taste amazing. The texture seems really nice, like soft and fluffy and moist, everything that you want in a sandwich toast. And I'm just really excited to see how they will taste. I'm not gonna cut them open right now just because we have already an open like bag of bread still that was from the store, so I want to finish that first before I cut one open. I also opened our hamburger buns and they turned out amazing. I've bitten into it. I will eat that later. This is everything we've baked today. I think everything looks so stunning. And I know the bagels, they taste amazing. And since I tried the hamburger bun, this also tastes amazing. I just love home baked goods. That's my timer for the chicken. I just love home baked goods so much. It brings me so much joy to bake them and then be able to enjoy them throughout the weeks. And it's also really convenient if you have all this stuff on hand in your freezer, and it's quite empowering also, that you're able to whip all this up in basically just a couple of hours and have like your own homemade stuff to enjoy. So if you have made it this far, then thank you so much for watching. If you like videos like this, then I would highly appreciate it if you would subscribe to my channel. We have a lot of gardening stuff to come, a lot of more fun cooking stuff in the future. Also, if you are interested in seeing our renovation journey, then please comment down below if you're interested in that. I will take you along on that journey as well. We have quite a lot of stuff to do still. We have the bathroom to do, and our guest room still to do, and the cellar basically. So there are a lot of things that I can show you if you are interested. And as always, if you have made it this far, then thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate every single one of you. Never forget, you were worthy, you were loved. I hope you have the most amazing day, and I hope to see you back on my channel next time. Bye!